All right, so this video that you're about to watch has the power to absolutely change your life. I'm going to talk about how to reinvent your life so that you can take control of your life and fucking change it. Okay? Guys, this used to be a course that was part of my coaching program, and I decided to get on here and give it to you guys for free entirely. Okay? So, the only thing that I ask you is two things. Number one, take out a pen and paper because you're going to need to write down a lot of things. Okay. Every single chapter will build on the other chapter. So you got to make sure that you complete the chapter in order and in steps. Okay. The second thing, like the goddamn video. Okay. I know like this content, this free content that I'm about to put out is probably better than people's paid shit. 100%. So, guys, it took me probably like 6 to 8 hours to put together. So please like the goddamn video and pay attention. Okay. This is what I call the self-mastery blueprint. Okay, this self-mastery blueprint is the step-by-step process which I use to change my life in less than 1 year. Okay, for those of you guys that don't know who I am, the story begins January 2024. As you guys see on the picture on the left, I was depressed, unhappy, hating my fucking life. Okay, I was sick and tired of waking up in the morning. I didn't even want to wake up in the morning. I hated my job. I was stocking shelves at Walmart, bro, working for Pepsi as a merchandiser, as you guys see in the picture in the middle. And I was also cutting hair as a barber. You know what I'm saying? And I fucking hated my life. At the same time, I had just gotten out of a relationship, which was super toxic. I was being a simp, right? I had made a lot of bad choices in my life, which led me to fucking this dark hole that I was in January 2024, living paycheck to paycheck. And I was also out of shape. You know what I'm saying? As you guys see on that picture on the left, I was probably the fattest I ever been. My confidence was at an all-time fucking low. I was having a hard time even speaking to people. Like I had anxiety. I couldn't even leave my fucking house, right? And then when I was cutting hair at the barbershop, I couldn't even look at my clients in their eyes anymore because my self-esteem had been going lower and lower every single week, bro. Because I was not a man of my word. I was simping. I was in a toxic ass relationship. I was getting fucking cheated on like a simp, right? I wasn't proud of who I was. I was hating my life. I hated my job. I just hated everything about my life, right? To the point where I even shaved my head bald. You know what I'm saying? As you guys see on the picture on the right, I literally just took all my hair off. I was like, fuck this shit, right? So later on in that year, guys, right? Just a few months later, I also got run over by a car, bro. Right? I was crossing the street and the car just came and ran me the fuck over. Fractured 6 bones in my spine, 3 fractures in my neck. You know what I'm saying? I lost my job. I couldn't make money. I didn't know how I was going to make money. I didn't have any savings because I was living paycheck to paycheck. I lost my health, hospitalized for 17 days. You know, I didn't know how I was ever going to make money again. You know what I'm saying? Lost my girlfriend during the same time. So as you guys see, the story of my life last year was a dark hole, was a dark fucking place, right? But guys, look, in less than 1 year, in less than 12 months, I was able to get in the best shape of my life despite my injuries. I was able to stop working as a barber, making $500,000 a year as I'm making right now, which I'll provide proof later on, right? I was able to quit my job. I was able to completely reinvent myself. And that is what I'm most proud about. I'm not most proud about the amount of money I make. I'm not really even most proud about the physique that I have. It's about the fact that I was able to completely change my identity and reinvent myself into someone I thought that was never even possible. And I did it all in less than 12 months. Okay. And as you guys see me there, I'm traveling around the world. On the picture on the right, that's Dominican Republic. Right now, I live in Colombia. You know what I'm saying? I go back and forth to the States. I can travel anywhere I want, live anywhere I want. I lead and coach men for a living. I help change people's lives. I'm doing something I never thought was possible for me because I was able to reinvent myself and change my life. So I'm going to show you guys exactly how to fucking do that, guys. I'm going to show you how to do that in this full guide. So let's get to it, man. All right. First thing you need to understand, okay, is the following. Rule number one is there are no limits. Whether you believe it or not, my brother, your current life is a product of your limited mindset. And I didn't understand this at all, right? But as we go throughout this course, you're going to begin to open up your mind and your mind is going to start to change. This is what I call limiting beliefs. You see other people living the life that you want. You see other people having things that you want, having the body that you want, having a bank account that you want, having the personality that you want. And you already start to tell yourself that that's not your life and it's not possible for you, right? So your current life is going to be a reflection of your mindset, of your beliefs. The only thing I have to do is see someone's life, see someone's body, see someone's bank account, see someone's personality, and I already know what beliefs they have in their head, right? Your life is an immediate reflection of your beliefs. So rule number one is we are going to break the limits up. There are no limits, okay? Everything you're not good at, everything you wish that you had, everything that you hope to be, the only reason that those things are true in your life is because that is what you have defined as true for your life. You define what's true in your life and not. This might be already like causing you guys some lack of belief. Oh, Huncho, you're talking bullshit. Just wait, bro. Just wait. You know what I'm saying? Give me some time to establish my case, okay? Now, if you're socially awkward, you probably tell yourself, I'm an introvert, right? I used to tell myself the same shit. Oh, I'm just an introvert, right? If you're fat, you probably tell yourself, oh, that guy just looks good because he just has good genetics. He just has a six-pack because they're naturally skinny, right? If you see someone making a lot of money, you probably tell yourself, oh, he's just good at business. Or you tell yourself, oh, he's just a scammer, right? If you see someone who's confident, you just tell yourself, man, that guy's a people person. And, too bad I'm not, right? So this is an excuse mindset and a limited mindset, okay? If you want to move forward with this course, and if you want to move forward in your life, you need to rid yourself of it. And I'm going to establish the case later on, but these are just the fundamental points that I need you to start accepting now at the start of this course, okay? The only limits that exist are the ones that you place on yourself. I'm going to repeat that. The only limits that exist are the ones that you place on yourself. No one is born good at anything unless you're LeBron James, okay? And even LeBron James had to work 8 to 10 hours in the gym, right? You can work on all these things. You can become whoever the fuck you want to be. There are no limits. Why do I say that, bro? Because in less than 12 months, I was living paycheck to paycheck. I got fat, out of shape. I got run over by a car. I was doubting myself. I lacked confidence, right? So now I'm literally speaking in front of men, changing lives, making $500,000 a year, completely changed my identity, retired from my job, quit my job, living across the world in less than 12 months. And I was able to do this by following the steps in this course, okay? So you can totally become whoever the fuck you want to be. You can totally reinvent your life, okay? So if you're going to take this course, as we said, rule number one, there are no limits. Rule number two, I need you to understand the power of 1%. And this is very important, okay? Your current life is a result of your past decisions and behaviors. And I'm going to repeat that one more time. Your current life is a result of your past decisions and behaviors. Look at your past decisions, your behaviors, and your actions. They have led you up to this point. If you want to change your life, change your daily decisions, behaviors, and actions. This is the reason why I'm ripped and jacked, and this is the reason why you're not. Okay? It's not because somebody has good genetics. It's not because somebody fucking takes steroids. Even though that could be true, right? It's not because of whatever other reason other than your decisions and your behaviors, bro. Okay? So the goal isn't to become an overnight success or have a breakthrough moment. Okay? We have these big goals. You might have these big goals watching this video. You don't need a breakthrough moment, right? I wasn't an overnight success, right? I made this into a science, which I'm going to break down in this video, right? The goal is to get 1% better every single day, which is 37 times better in the course of a year. This is my secret, okay? Rule number three, delayed gratification. You see, where you're at in life isn't a result of what you did today, but of what you did last year and the year before that. And so you need to accept that getting 1% better every day will go unnoticed in the immediate moment. But after 3 months, after 6 months, you'll be reaping the benefits of all those 1% improvements stacked up over weeks and weeks of delayed gratification. You won't get confident or ripped overnight. But every day that passes, you are getting more ripped, more rich, and more confident. And this is the power of delayed gratification. See, most people are average, depressed, fat, broke, and lost because they don't know how to delay gratification. They want instant gratification, and that's what's ruining your life. But then they fuck up their future in the process, okay? Create your future. Do not sacrifice your future, which is what most of you guys are doing right now. Your decisions today is what creates your future. So if you want to actually control your future and predict it, just control your decisions, and we'll talk about that, okay? So, guys, those are the 3 rules that I want you guys to have in mind before we start. And this is going to go chapter by chapter, right? So take out your pen and start writing notes, okay? Self-mastery, chapter 1, creating the vision of your ideal self. Take control of your goddamn life, bro. Take control of your life. You see, up to this point in your life, man, you've probably been living a life, a reality that someone else has chosen for you. Working a job that you hate, working a job that someone else wants you to do, that your boss wants you to do, that your family wants you to do, having a body that the food corporations want you to have, having a body that big pharma wants you to have so you can be unhealthy as fuck and they can profit off you, right? Having a body that society wants you to have so they can keep you at their fucking level, so you can be average and lack confidence and lack masculinity so you can be easy to manipulate like the government wants us, right? They want us easy to manipulate. That's why they're trying to tank our testosterone levels and our manliness, our manhood, right? Living a life that society wants you to live, living a life that your parents want you to live, living a life that your girlfriend wants you to live, right? In a relationship that you don't even want to be in. Maybe you're in a relationship where you're putting up with a disrespectful girl just because you know you wouldn't be able to do better, right? But you're not even living the life that you want. You're in a relationship that you don't even want to be in, right? So, guys, up to this point in your life, you probably have been living a reality that someone else has chosen for you, okay? And this is why you feel lost in life, bro. This is why I felt lost in life. This is why I was living in regret and shame, right? This is why I was unmotivated to wake up in the fucking morning, bro. I would hate that drive to work, bro. I would hate that drive to work every single morning, right? I wasn't proud of who I was. This is why you're not proud of who you are as a man. This is why you're not proud of the life that you built, because you've been living the life that someone else has chosen for you. Waking up with no purpose, no end destination in sight. You're just existing. If this is how you're living, you're not even living, bro. You are just existing. And that was the reality of my life, okay? Right? And this is what leads to vices. You start to cope, right? And this is what leads to depression, which we'll get into a later chapter. Now, the reason you feel like this is because you have no direction and you have no vision, resulting in a life void of meaning, bro. Like I said, you're just existing. You're going through life like a zombie. You're not even living, okay? I want you guys to analyze this picture. Seneca, one of the great Stoics, he said, if a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable. If a man knows not to which port he sails, absolutely no wind is favorable. So what the heck does that mean if you're not understanding what he's saying? Bro, what he's saying is this. If I take a boat out on sea and the wind is blowing north or the wind is blowing south or the wind is blowing west or east, it doesn't make a difference. It doesn't matter. It's void of meaning because I don't know where the fuck I'm going. And that is exactly what the reality is of your life. You see, your life is void of meaning, bro, because you don't even know where you're going. So anything that happens, anything that goes on, any decision that you make, any circumstances, any event, anything is void of meaning because it doesn't even matter. If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable. Okay? So understand this. Your life is the boat and you are the fucking captain, bro. The reason you lack confidence, feel lost, and you lack purpose is because you don't know where the fuck you're going, bro. You don't know where the fuck you're going. Point blank. So that is why you feel lost, depressed, and happy with self, unhappy with life, not proud of who you are, with low self-esteem and lack of confidence. This is the cause. This is the root problem that everybody tries to drink alcohol, smoke weed, and have a bunch of sex and try to distract themselves and chase pleasure because their life is void of meaning. But their life is void of meaning, okay, because your life has no direction, brother. Okay? Sigmund Freud used to say humans chase pleasure, right? That's the human's greatest motivator in life. But then Viktor Frankl came along and he said that's wrong. Humans chase pleasure when their life is void of meaning. And that's exactly what's happening to most of you guys watching this, right? So you need to create the vision of your ideal self. You need to find your true north. And that's what we're going to do in chapter 1, because this is what everything is going to build upon, all right? So that vision that you're going to create in this chapter, it comes from your conscience. Okay, now before we get into any scientific or religious debates, I'm not here for religious debates. Okay, I'm here to help change your life. So some people are going to tell you that vision comes from the universe, or that vision or that calling comes from God. It's a divine calling, right? Or maybe it's just your thoughts, right? The vision that you want for your life, for yourself, comes from your thoughts. Or I like to say the vision comes from infinite intelligence. Okay, so whatever you believe in, if you're an atheist, if you're a Christian, I don't care. The point is that we're going to create this vision in chapter 1, but it has to come from you, and we're going to talk about that, right? So before we start creating this vision, bro, there are 2 things that stops people from being able to create the vision for their ideal self. Okay, number 1, you're coping with vices. So check this out. When your life is void of meaning, like we talked about, humans begin to chase pleasure. Humans begin to distract themselves with pleasure. There's a quote that says, when your life lacks meaning, you're going to chase pleasure. Drugs, alcohol, women, relationships, chasing cheap dopamine, which is sedation. You are sedating yourself from actually addressing, facing, and fixing the problems in your life. Okay? You are distracting yourself. And if you're in this state of partaking in all these vices, that is going to negatively impact your ability to connect with self, to your conscience, to infinite intelligence, and be able to actually come up with a meaningful vision that moves you towards the life that you want. Okay, the second reason why a lot of people have problems finding this vision is because you've been stifling and silencing your conscience or silencing your imagination because you lack belief in self, right? Earlier I said there are no limits. A lot of you guys, maybe you guys have heard that conscience, or maybe you guys have had those thoughts from your conscience and you guys don't even believe it. Oh man, I could never become a fitness coach and quit my job in 6 months and get ripped as fuck and make $500,000 a year. Yeah, I used to tell myself that for 25 years until I decided to stop limiting myself and start fucking believing in the vision and in my conscience. Okay, so those are the two reasons why most people have issues actually finding their vision. So let's ask the question, what kind of person do you want to be? What kind of life do you actually want to live, bro? This is how we're going to start to create the vision of the ideal self, or another way to put it is the vision of the man that you're proud of. Okay, so throughout this course, the ideal self and man that you're proud of are going to be synonymous terms. Okay, by the way, guys, this is how you build confidence as well. You guys want to talk about building confidence? This is the exact way how you build confidence. Check this out. So you're over here on the left. This is your current life, void of meaning, directionless, no purpose, no nothing. You hate your life, right? And on the right is the vision of where you want to be, of who you want to be, of what kind of life you want to live, right? And then the closer that you get to that vision, the closer you move towards that right, the more confident that you become. This is what confidence is, okay? As you guys see, I did it in another fashion on this picture. Look, on the left, confidence is at level 0. The closer you begin to move towards the right, the vision, your confidence begins to increase. So this is like the spectrum of confidence, right? So the more that you can bridge the gap between of where you are and where you actually want to be, you will start to build a very strong sense of self-confidence, all right? So where do you want to be, bro? Where do you want to be? You will never take control of your life. You will never become a man that you're proud of, or you will never have meaning or purpose if you don't even know what that man even looks like. You don't even know what that life even looks like. So we have to create the vision, guys. So step 1, let's create that vision. I'm going to go over 4 questions that essentially changed my life last year. I'm going to share them with you. That we are able to start putting this vision together that we're going to build upon the rest of this course. Okay. So these are the 4 questions that will create your vision, right? The vision of the man that you're proud of, or another way to put it is the vision of your ideal self. So these are the 4 questions, guys. Number 1, I hope you're writing this shit down. What do you want people to say about you when you're not in the room? Think about that for a second, man. When you leave a room, when you're not present at work, when you're not present with your family, when you're not present with your friends, what do you want people to say about you when you're not in the room? Okay, another way to ask this is, what do I want people to say about me at my funeral? When you're gone and you no longer exist, what kind of reputation would you be able to live with? Right? Another way to ask this is, what do you actually want to be remembered for? Right? When I answer these questions, for me, I wanted people to say about me that I was a man who had a work ethic, who had discipline, who was motivational, inspirational, and was an example of what dedication looks like. A year later, if people talk about Huncho, that's exactly what they're going to tell you. So I didn't build this persona off chance, okay? This was intentional, right? So question 1 is going to help us determine our morals and our values, okay? And this is essential for your vision. So pause the video and write down these answers and take time to think about that, right? Another way to ask this is, how do you want to feel about yourself, right? How do you want to feel about yourself? Do you want to feel about yourself as a lazy ass motherfucker who's a damn clown, who never did anything productive? Is that the kind of reputation you want? I guarantee you probably not, right? So take all these questions and take some time to answer. This is going to be question number 1, all right? Question number 2 is, what do you want to actually look like, bro? Right? If you look down right now and you pinch your stomach and you're pinching fat, I guarantee you that's not the way you want to look like, bro. Okay? Because if you were in a room full of women and you took your fucking shirt off, I guarantee you would be living in shame and regret, and you wouldn't even have the confidence to take your shirt off, bro. Okay, so what do you actually want to look like, right? What body do you need to have in order to walk shirtless in a room full of single women and be confident in yourself? Okay, so if you guys notice, question 2 has to do with health and body goals, right? So question 1, we're determining our morals and our values. What do we actually value? What are our actual morals, right? Question number 2 is, what do you want to look like, right? And this is going to talk about our physique goals, our body goals, and our health goals. Okay. Because obviously, if you say, hey, Hunch, I want to look like a guy who's 10% body fat, somebody who's 10% body fat is a healthy person who doesn't eat bullshit, right? So, question number 2 is designed to help answer your health goals. Okay. Now, question number 3, what does a day in your perfect dream life look like? Okay. If you could close your eyes for a second, bro, and think to yourself, man, what kind of life would I actually want to live? Like, what would be the perfect day? You know, for me, my perfect day is waking up early, working out, you know what I'm saying, waking up next to a beautiful woman, you know what I'm saying, kissing her in the mouth. Baby, I love you. I'm going to work, whatever. I'm going to put some work in the gym, coming home, and then making connections with people, whether that's like, I don't know, like Zoom calls or like leading some sort of team or just having some sort of human connection throughout my day for about like 2 to 3 hours and then having the rest of the day free to myself, right? That's what a perfect day in my dream life looks like, right? Maybe you don't need a human connection in your perfect day, right? Maybe that's not important to you, right? But for me, it is. So the answer is going to vary from person to person. But what does a perfect day to you look like? Maybe you want to wake up and just not do anything. I guarantee you that's probably not the case because if you're not doing anything, and you're just being lazy, that's not a life that has meaning. So really think about this question and be specific, bro. When you're on the way to the gym, do you want to drive a Lambo or do you want to drive a fucking broken down Honda? You know what I'm saying? That the battery dies every 2 weeks because the car fucking sucks, right? So take some time to answer that questions, right? So question number 3 is actually going to determine our career goals and our life goals, right? Because if you think about it, if you answered this question and you said, I want to wake up in the penthouse with 3 girls next to me, and then I want to be able to just do whatever I want. Well, that tells you right there that your financial goals is going to be like that of probably like a millionaire, right? So that already tells you, okay, what direction I need to take my life in, right? So these questions are determined to design the vision so that you know what direction to take, as we're going to talk about in the later chapters, right? So question number 4, what kind of relationship and friendships do I want in my life? All right. So question number 4 is going to help us determine your relationship goals. So as you guys saw, we covered your whole life. Question number 1, values and morals. Question number 2, your health goals. Question number 3, your career goals, right? And question number 4 is going to be your relationship goals, right? Those are the 4 categories. Okay. So there you go, right? Question 1, values and morals. Question 2, health and body goals. Question 3, career and business. Question 4, relationship goals. And when you're answering question 4, a great way to answer these questions, guys, is what kind of life you don't want, right? Because you guys might be watching this. You guys might think, damn, like, I don't even know what I want. Okay, well, start with what you don't want. Because it's easier for us to identify what we don't want than what we do want. Okay, do you want a girl with a flat ass? I guarantee you probably not. I sure as damn hell don't. No disrespect. You know what I'm saying? Do you want a relationship where a girl disrespects you? I'm sure you do not. So you guys see how some of these questions, answer them first in the way of, okay, what kind of relationship do I not want? What kind of friendships do I not want? You know what kind of friendships I don't want? People that go out drinking, people that be gossiping, people that are dishonest, right? So answer the questions in the negative first. And that's going to give you inspiration to be able to actually paint the vision to all of these questions, right? So all of these 4 questions paint the vision of the man that you're proud of or the ideal self that we talked about. So here's the end task for chapter 1, guys. Answer the 4 questions in whatever words feel true to yourself. Keep these answers present as you'll need them throughout completing this course, right? Throughout this course, I will teach you step by step how to bridge that gap, take control of your life, and become your ideal self. Guys, Self-Mastery Chapter 2. So chapter 1, we talked about creating the vision. Now, chapter 2, we're going to talk about changing the identity, okay? So the truth is, we are slaves to our identity, okay? Your identity is fundamentally what controls your actions or the sustainability of your actions. Most people can never change their lives because most people can never change their actions, okay? Most people never change because most people trap themselves in their old identity. So check this out, right? Guys, we don't eat bad foods because we can't stop. We eat bad foods because we don't think of ourselves as a healthy person. right? Healthy people eat healthy foods. You know what I'm saying? Healthy people don't hate their lives because they don't eat pizza or McDonald's every day. Like, do you guys really think Huncho hates his life? Damn, I hate being ripped and I hate having to eat chicken breast and steak and eggs. And I hate the fact that I can't have McDonald's every day. Do you guys think that's how I live my life? Absolutely not. Why? Because I am simply walking in line with my identity. Okay, because my identity determines my actions. So if you can't stop eating bullshit foods, you have the identity of a fat motherfucker. With all due respect, right? The reason I can speak like this is because I used to be that person. All right. So we are slaves to our identity, right? I don't go to the gym because I force myself to. Think about that for a second. You guys think Huncho goes to the gym and he has to like hype himself up to go there? You know what I'm saying? Absolutely not. I go there because my identity is the identity of a hard fucking worker and of a jacked person, right? If you're having issues going to the gym, that's because your identity, you have the identity of a person who makes excuses. You have the identity of a person that doesn't keep their word to themselves. You have the identity of a person who's lazy. That is your identity, and that is the way that you view yourself, right? So being jacked and being a hard worker is part of my identity. And so my actions simply walk in line with my identity, okay? Everyone's actions is tied to their identity. If we can change our identity, we can change our actions. And if we can change our actions, we can change our life, right? So in order to change your life, you must change your actions. In order to change your actions, you must change your identity. Without this, you will be trapped and stuck in your old ways, in your old thoughts, and in your old habits. So as you guys analyze this picture here, what do you guys think this represents? This represents the effort of trying to commit actions that are out of line with your identity. You're rolling a ball up a hill. And sooner or later, you're going to get tired and that shit is going to come rolling back down. It's going to run you the fuck over. And you're going to get fat as fuck again, or you're going to quit and you're going to stop and you're going to give up on your goals because your identity has not been tapped into. And that is why I want to talk about this in chapter 2. Another picture is, look at this man who has an anchor that looks like weighs 1,000 pounds and it's dragging him back, right? Have you ever tried to take on new habits, new goals, new ideas, new tasks, and you can just never do it because it feels like it's just so much fucking work? Yeah, that's because your old identity, you're trapped in it, bro. That's what we're going to address. So these are the 3 things that control and create your identity. Number 1, the stories that you tell yourself, your thoughts, your self-talk, your self-image. And we're going to go each into detail, okay? Number 2, your habits, which is essentially your actions, right? And then number 3 is your environmental influences, your friendships and relationships, right? So you guys might see this, right? The stories you tell yourself. Huncho, what do you mean? So every single day, throughout the entire day, you're telling yourself stories. I want you to think of when you wake up in the morning. What's the first thought that pops in your head, whether you realize it or not? I'm tired. Ah, fuck, I'm sleepy. Ah, fuck, I want to sleep more. So realize that the exact moment that you wake to consciousness, you're already telling yourself a story. You're already telling yourself a story, whether or not you're aware of it. And this goes on 24/7, right? Let's say you're on your way to work. What's in your thoughts, bro? Oh, I hate this job, right? You're telling yourself a story that you hate this job. You're narrating yourself a story, right? Let's say you're in the gym and you've done 2 sets of squats and you're going for the third, and you see that 3 plates on the bar and you're like, fuck, man, that looks heavy. You think to yourself, man, I can't lift this weight. So you guys see how you actually telling yourself stories the entire day, right? When you see a beautiful girl that you want to go talk to and you're like, she's too cute for me. Again, you're telling yourself a story, right? Or when you see a cheesecake, damn, that cheesecake looks good as fuck. Again, you're telling yourself stories, right? Is that starting to make sense? So these rampant thoughts, these thoughts that go rampant and unchecked in your head, take control of your emotions and also takes control of your self-image, the way that you view yourself. Your self-image is what determines your identity, which then controls your actions. So I'm going to give you guys examples of things I used to tell myself that ended up controlling my identity because I was viewing myself in this way, right? So I used to tell myself all the time, I'm just not good at this business stuff and making money. Whenever I was offered a job at business, because I did accounting in college, or like at sales, or whenever I was like, you know what I'm saying, offered a job that you could actually make money, I wouldn't even take the job because my self-image, the way that I view myself since I was a kid, was I'm not just good at this business shit. I'm not good at making money, right? My dad, since I was a young kid, he used to tell us this shit. He used to tell us, guys, our family's not good at the business stuff, so don't even bother. I heard that for 20 years. So I was conditioned. We're programmed to think in a certain way a lot of times, right? But guess what? You know what I'm saying? Guess what? As you guys see, I got like 10 bands right here, $10,000. And here's the proof that I'm making 60 grand a month, which if you guys do the math, that's $500,000 a year. Okay. That's over $500,000 a year. Right now is what I'm making. So that just goes to show you, look at that, man. I was able to change my circumstances once I actually realized how to change my identity, right? Another thing I used to tell myself, I just don't have good genetics to be a fitness coach. Guys, I love fitness ever since I was 16. Ever since my mom got me like a gym membership to go to Blink for my birthday when I was 16, I love fitness, right? But I would see all these guys who looked quote unquote better than me, or all these jack guys. And I tell myself, man, I'm just not meant to be like a fitness influencer or like a fitness coach. This is the stuff I tell myself, right? Until I actually change the narrative. And guess what? Here I am, ripped as fuck with a six pack, 195 pounds, 6'2". That is a picture of me, right? And I'm a fitness coach, right? I used to tell myself all the time, I'm not a morning person. How many of you guys tell yourself this shit, man? Because this shit used to like control my life, right? I'm not a morning person, man. Check this out. I'm waking up at 4 in the morning now. Sometimes I wake up at 3. Sometimes I wake up at 3:30. But I wake up at 4 in the morning and I journal every morning. So the way that you view yourself is a direct result of the stories that you've been telling yourself. The stories that you tell yourself over and over and over again will keep you from changing. You will be trapped in the same place and the same identity forever if you don't start to change that shit like I'm going to show you in this chapter, okay? If you want to change who you are, change the stories that you're telling yourself, because that's what determines your actions. Your thoughts determines your actions, bro. The stories that you tell yourself will determine your actions. The only way to do this is to reprogram your subconscious mind. And now before we go any further, I already know some of you guys are starting to question what it is that I'm talking about. Listen, bro, I've helped countless of dudes change their life with the information that I'm about to share with you, okay? So if you take some humble pie, just listen up, because obviously if you knew what you were talking about, you wouldn't be even watching this video, all right? So pay attention. Your thoughts and your stories come from your subconscious mind. So all that self-talk, the way that you view yourself, the way that you feel about yourself, all those thoughts that you get in your head, they're coming forth from your subconscious mind. So if we can reprogram that subconscious mind with the proper shit, right? Then your thoughts, your self-talk is going to begin to change, which is going to begin to change your self-image, which is then going to begin to change your identity, which is then going to begin to change your actions, which is then going to begin to change your habits, and then your habits are going to change your life. All right, so you guys realize that? Now, that's what I just said. Subconscious mind determines your thoughts, which then determines your view of self, your self-image, which then determines your identity, which then determines your actions, and your actions create your habits, and your habits create your life, right? I hope you guys take a screenshot of that. So in this chapter, we will only focus on reprogramming the subconscious mind. Okay? So the other two things that control your identity, we're going to address those later on. My only focus in this chapter is to tap into that subconscious mind and start programming into it the right shit, which is exactly what I did, which is why I was able to change my life in such a short amount of time. Your habits, right? Let me just briefly discuss this. People want to change their identity, but you cannot think your way into an identity. Let me repeat that, right? People want to change their identity, but you cannot only think your way into a new identity. You must act your way into a new identity, right? Notice I said that we must change your subconscious mind so that we can change your identity, so that then we can change your actions, right? Because if you're just fucking thinking your way to changing your identity, it's not going to happen just with your thoughts. Actions must follow, and we'll get into that in chapter 4, like I said in the bottom, right? So environmental influences, hanging around the same people with the same identity that you're trying to change will pull you back right into that old identity. And we're going to touch on this in chapter 7. You must detach from your old identity and your old self in order to create the new self. Example, if you don't want to be a lazy person and you want to stop being a lazy person, but then you're still hanging around lazy people, yeah, your identity will never change because the environmental influences are pulling against you, okay? So let's talk about the reprogram of the subconscious mind, because that's what we're going to talk about in this chapter. So you must reprogram your mind, which means you must tap into your subconscious mind and you must sear into it the identity that you actually wish to create. Okay? You must do this in the morning as soon as you wake up. That is what I call subconscious mind reprogramming, because you're taking advantage of the most receptive state that you're ever in, which is called the theta state. Okay. When you wake up in the morning, you're at a very receptive state to the point where everything that you consume, that you say, that you ingest, that you think about starts to actually get seared into the subconscious mind. So if you want to change your subconscious mind, we want to tap into it as soon as we wake up every single morning, right? So like I said, it must be done first thing upon waking up to ensure that we are in the theta state. But the way that we do this, guys, is not only writing, but also saying affirmations out loud, which I'm going to show you guys actually how to do this, because there's a right way and there's a wrong way, right? So before we go further, again, I used to think this was a crock of shit, right? I used to think this was bullshit, like, oh, that's not needed, that's like some woo-woo shit. Guys, when I was in that hole of desperation that I talked about, January 2024, when I was hating myself, I was hating my life, I was living in regret and shame, I was fat, out of shape, no confidence, no self-esteem. I had just gotten out of a toxic ass relationship. I hated my life. I was living paycheck to paycheck. I was just hating everything about my life, right? I was living in such desperation that I decided to actually give this shit a try. And in less than 2 weeks, I was already beginning to shift my identity. So pay attention. Here's an example of what my affirmations were during that time. I am blessed to be able to wake up every morning, and I am excited to crush every goal that I have for it today. Why did I open up my days with that line? The reason is because as soon as I would wake up, I would feel pain. I would feel hatred for my life and hatred for myself. So in order to change that narrative in my subconscious mind, I would start my day by reading that first sentence. I am blessed to be able to wake up every morning, and I am excited to crush every goal that I have for today. I am cementing a different story in my subconscious mind. Do you guys see that, right? And I go on to say, I'm creating my future each and every day, and I will accomplish everything that I have set out to do today. Why did I say that? Because I was full of self-doubt, because I didn't trust myself, because I wasn't a man of my word. So in order to change my self-talk and the way that I viewed myself, I would start to say, I will accomplish everything that I have set out to do today. And that was searing an identity of somebody who gets everything done, right? I will follow my meal plan perfectly no matter what, and I will develop my physique and my mind using the gym as a tool. I will build my best self physically and mentally. I am developing mental fortitude. So notice how all these affirmations are quite specific. We'll go into them later, and how they are simply addressing the weaknesses that I have in my life, right? I was simply trying to change the narrative, and I just didn't try. I actually did it because this shit works, right? And here, the second paragraph, I'm developing my communication and people skills every single day. I am also becoming a leader and developing my leadership skills daily. I am leading by example and doing the work, right? So we're going to help write you a list of affirmations, right? Our job is now to create your own list of affirmations using the 4 questions you gave last week. So the 4 questions we talked about in the last chapter, right? Chapter 1, about the vision of the ideal self. We're going to actually create an affirmation list based off those things, right? So we're going to say these affirmations every single morning as soon as we wake up. Now, I'm going to help you guys actually write it, because there's a wrong way to write affirmations and there's a right way to write affirmations. And if you write it in the wrong way, it's not going to do anything. It's not going to have an impact. Okay, so number 1, take your answers from last week and we're going to list them out together. Okay, so if you said that you want to live in a penthouse and you said that you want to drive a Bugatti to the gym, okay, that's going to be one of your goals, right? If you said that you want to be a confident person, or you want people to view you as a confident person, and you want people to say that you're ripped as fuck or whatever else it is, you're going to write that on the list, right? So we're going to rank the goals in order of importance from 1 to 4. Okay. And we're only going to take 2 out of those 4 things. We don't want to mentally overload our mind with too many things. That is a big mistake that people make when writing affirmations, is they'll write like 2 pages of affirmations, and your brain is not going to have enough capacity to actually like store that information. It's going to be information overload, and it's not going to work. So we're only going to take 2 out of the 4 things that are most important to you right now, and we're going to transfer that into affirmation format. Here's how. Rule number 1 is the only tense that you're going to use is the I am tense or the I am doing tense. So what does that look like? I am massively confident. Or you could say, I am becoming massively confident, right? Let's say you need to have a lot of money to realize your ideal self. Well, you're going to say, I am rich. Or you could say, I am becoming rich every single day. Okay. Do not write the affirmations in the future tense. I see a lot of guys saying, one day I'm going to be rich, or I will be rich, or I will be ripped, or I will be confident. No. That's not going to do absolutely anything to your subconscious mind. It's just not. You have to write it in the I am or the I am present progressive tense only, right? So here's an example, right? I am becoming more fit every single day. I eat healthy meals daily. I execute my workout plans perfectly. I never miss. So guys, notice what I'm doing here with this affirmation, okay? I took the affirmation of I want to be a fit person and I said I am becoming more fit every single day, but then I went on to write a description about it. And this is super essential because guys that simply write their affirmations, I am fit, I am jacked, no one gives a fuck, and that's not going to register in the subconscious mind. Okay? The mind works through images and imagination. So when you're reading the affirmations and it has descriptions to it, it's going to start to trigger the imagination in your brain. And that's what's going to start to create the reprogramming of your subconscious mind. Okay, so don't just write the affirmations. Write 2 to 3 sentences after the affirmations, specifically describing what a fit person looks like. Well, a fit person eats his meals daily, right? A fit person executes his workout plans perfectly, right? A fit person never misses, right? So notice how I'm describing the affirmations after I write the actual affirmation. A second example, right? Each day I wake up confident and excited. I speak clearly and make genuine conversations with everyone I come in contact with. And this was one that I used to read every morning because I was struggling with anxiety. I was struggling with self-doubt, shame. I wasn't proud of myself. So I was having weird ass, awkward ass conversations with my clients, with people, with friends and family. So I would say this shit every morning. Each day I wake up confident and excited. Boom, affirmation right there. And then I went on to describe what that looks like to me. To me, somebody who's confident speaks clearly. Somebody who's confident makes genuine conversations with everyone that he comes into contact with. So notice how I am describing the affirmations and the answers are going to be different for everybody. Maybe a confident person to you is somebody who can go up and speak to women or speak to every beautiful woman that he sees, right? So we all have different meanings attached to the identity. But what I want you guys to do is to write the affirmation and write 2 to 4 descriptive sentences after the affirmations. This is very important. Now, notice how I tie down specific actions to the identity that I am becoming, right? So for example, when I said I am becoming more fit every single day, the description of that was tied down to actions. I eat my healthy meals daily. I execute my workout plans. I'm tying down an action to that identity, right? In the second example, every day I wake up confident and excited. I speak clearly and make genuine conversations with everyone that I meet. So my affirmation is being tied down to an action. And this is the exact proper way to actually make affirmations work. When you tie down the affirmation to an actual action, it's game over, bro. It's game over, right? Because you're going to cement that identity even more every single time that you do that action. It's giving that action meaning in your brain and in your subconscious mind. And it's also motivating you to actually do that action, all right? So here are some more rules, right? I write the affirmations based upon the actions that are required to become that person, like I just said. Write the affirmations in your own words. Okay, this is very important. Do not copy somebody else's affirmations, guys. That's a huge mistake, right? If you copy someone else's words, it's not going to resonate with you. The words from your affirmations must come from your own imaginations, from your own thoughts, right? Only write things which are important to you in the now, right? Like I said, we're only going to take 2 out of the 4 things we wrote last week or last chapter and then use it in the affirmations. Do not mentally overdrive yourself, right? Do not write in the future, I will become this type of person in the future. No, write it in the I am or the I am progressive. The whole point is I am becoming or I already am. So here's the end task for chapter 2, gentlemen. Let's write down our affirmation paragraphs. Pause the video. You know what I'm saying? This could take you anywhere from fucking 20 minutes to 30 minutes, maybe 60 minutes, right? Read it out loud every morning as soon as you turn on your alarm. Turn off your alarm. So every single morning when I would wake up, the first thing I would do is not grab my fucking phone, because if you do that, this is not even going to work. Okay, if the first thing you do is grab your phone and look at your messages or your notifications, this isn't going to work, because the first thing your brain ingested was some bullshit information. Okay, the first thing that you need to ingest, that you need to program your mind with, is the affirmations. So as soon as you turn off your alarm clock, you're going to take out your list of affirmations and you're going to say it out loud. You know what I'm saying? Oh, but Huncho, my breath smells like shit in the morning. Bro, my breath smells like shit in the morning too, but who gives a fuck? Are you more so concerned about changing your life? Or are you more so concerned about smelling your breath in the morning? Because I'll tell you what, man, I'd rather change my life. So start to use this shit. And I guarantee you, bro, after 7 days, you're going to come back to this video and you'll thank me later. All right. Chapter 3. We're moving pretty quickly. Removing vices. And this chapter will probably hit home for a lot of people watching, right? So vices is what holds people back from taking control of their life. And I want you to analyze that picture for a second. As you see, there's an air balloon that's trying to take off. And it's being held back and it's not going to go anywhere. Okay, that's what vices are like, right? Removing vices is literally the first step of the self-improvement journey. When I look at somebody's life and I see that they have vices, they're partaking in vices, I know that they're not doing the work required to actually change their lives. They're not even over step one. This is the first step in the self-improvement journey. Most people fail to admit their actual vices. People think, oh, vices is just alcohol. Vices is just like popping perkies or popping oxys. Guys, we're going to go into what vices actually are, right? But most people fail to even identify what their vices are. Now, vices numb the pain. Okay, but here's the problem. When you're doing vices, whatever the vice might be, it could be weed, alcohol, oxys, perkies, it could be sex, right? You're using that to numb the pain, right? But the problem is pain is the very feeling in life which guides us, teaches us, and corrects us, right? Pain creates change in us because pain leads to self-reflection. Self-reflection causes us to course correct our actions and our behaviors. If we numb our pain and we're coping like little bitches, we're never going to change our life because the very feeling that's responsible for self-reflection and change, you are numbing it, bro. We are silencing one of the greatest mentors in our lives by doing vices because we're numbing our pain. And like you guys see that guy, the little kid in the picture, he's literally touching the hot stove, right? And that's an example of what you do with your life. Every single day, bro, you touch the fucking hot stove. And when you feel depressed about yourself or you feel like shame and regret and you feel unhappy with yourself, you go chase happiness elsewhere to numb the pain. Instead of just, dude, stop touching the fucking stove. You keep your hand on the stove. You know what I'm saying? And you're distracting yourself trying to numb the pain. So do you guys see how that's not allowing you to actually fix the problem because you're numbing the pain? And pain is one of the best mentors that you have in life, right? So vices also drain your thought energy, your ability to tune in with your conscience or infinite intelligence, whatever you believe in. This is where inspiration, ideas, visions, and knowledge comes from. Okay. The brain can be likened to an antenna that receives transmissions from the ether or infinite intelligence, right? And when you're doing vices, you're fucking numbing the antenna. You're not going to get the transmissions, bro. Okay. All those thoughts, those ideas, right? I believe it comes from infinite intelligence. You're not going to be able to receive that shit because you're so fucking sedated and you're numbing your antenna, bro, right? So that's the second negative effect that vices have on your life. Like you guys might be saying, Huncho, I couldn't even answer the question in chapter 1. Yeah, because you're drowning in vices, bro. You know what I'm saying? You can't even listen to your conscience when you're doing vices. Vices also cause procrastination. And this is something that I want to stop the video on here because I think this is a sad reality of a lot of people's lives, okay? Any action or behavior that you partake in, which you avoid fixing your problems, is the very definition of a vice. And I'm going to repeat that one more time. Any action or behavior or activity that is delaying your ability to fix the problems in your life that you know you need to fix, that is what a vice is. So vices cause procrastination, okay? So what am I saying? Well, what I'm saying is if you look at yourself in the mirror, bro, and you know you're fat as fuck and you're unhappy with yourself because you aren't proud of the man that you are, right? But instead of going to the gym, you start hanging out with friends, or instead of going to the gym, you start fucking watching Netflix. Bro, your friends are vices because your friends are the reason you're procrastinating fixing the actual problem in your fucking life. You're coping, all right? That's why I said weed and alcohol are not the only vices. Your friends can be vices. Your relationship can be a vice like it was for me. There's a lot of Netflix can be a vice. Scrolling can be a vice, okay? So I hope you realize that if you procrastinate, bro, that is the best identifier. I can just look at somebody and be like, yo, this guy procrastinates. Oh, this guy has a shit ton of vices, bro. You're not even over step 1. Because when you remove these vices, You stop procrastinating because you start doing the fucking work that you're supposed to. Does that make sense? Right? And here's a perfect example of what I just said. Playing video games, oversleeping, right? Let's say you know that you're supposed to walk 1 hour a day of cardio in the morning because you're super overweight and your conscience has been telling you that you're unhealthy and you need to get healthy again, but then you sleep in and you're procrastinating, not doing that cardio. That is a vice. Your sleep is a cope and it's a distraction from you being able to fix the problems in your life. That's a vice. Netflix can be a vice. Hanging out with your friends can be a vice, right? Having a girlfriend can even be a vice, like it used to be for me. Guys, I used to feel so ashamed and so low of myself that I would go chase validation from women. Oh, as long as this bitch sucks my dick, as long as this bitch cuddles with me, I feel better about myself. Even though I'm broke as fuck, I don't have a purpose, I'm not bettering myself, I know I don't look my best of my potential, I'm not even proud of myself. So let me just get a kiss from a girl and let her suck my dick so I can just validate myself. That is a vice. You know what I'm saying? Scrolling on your phone is also a vice, right? So you're avoiding doing the work that you know you're supposed to be because you're doing something else. And that something else is a vice because it's an avoidance. It's an avoidance of facing and fixing the problems in your life, okay? So vices also drain you of your energy because vices drain your dopamine levels, which is responsible for motivation and drive in your life. Dopamine reinforces behavior, like we're going to talk about in a later chapter. Okay. So dopamine is a powerful hormone in your body as the fuel to your success, right? Building your body, building your dream life, building your bank account. The reason you have no motivation and no discipline to do any of that shit is because you're draining your dopamine with vices, bro. Vices, step one, we must remove this shit. Okay. Vices also eat away at your confidence and your self-esteem because they cause you to feel shame and regret. When you realize, damn, bro, my life isn't going anywhere because all I do is smoke weed and binge eat, right? But then you still do it, right? What do you think that does to you? You start to feel like, fuck, man, I can't even stop doing this shit. I have no control over my life, causing you to feel ashamed of yourself. Yeah, bro, that's a vice, okay? And then when you wake up the next morning feeling like shit because you were drinking the whole night, right? Which makes you feel unhappy or unsatisfied with the lack of progress in your life. Typically, people who do vices, they're deep in depression, bro. They're deep in depression because their conscience is telling them that there's a lot of shit that they're doing that they shouldn't be doing, that they should actually fix and face the problems instead of coping. And a lot of guys, it's themselves. They look at themselves and they're so unhappy with what they see in the mirror and they feel so ashamed of themselves because they're fat as fuck that they start coping with all this hanging out with friends and getting their dick sucked by their wife. It's like, bro, you're not fixing the problem, dude. You're not fixing the problem. You're not facing the problem. You're avoiding your problems, okay? Vices. Every time you partake in these behaviors, right, you lose rapport, you lose trust, and you lose confidence with yourself, and you end up drowning in shame and regret. This is a major reason why most of you guys watching lack confidence, and some of you guys watching might lack self-esteem as well, okay? So let's talk about how do we actually remove these fucking vices. So there's 3-step process, man. All right. Number one is we're going to identify your vices, right? We're going to place a barrier in between you and the vice, and then we're going to replace that vice with a good vice. So in order to identify our vices, we must actually first understand what, classifies as a vice and what doesn't, okay? So a vice is any destructive habit that, number one, has control over you, okay? Any behavior that pulls you away from your ideal self, that vision from chapter 1, any behavior or action that takes you further away from that vision is also a vice, okay? For example, if you know that you need to be ripped as fuck because that's your goal for yourself, but you're over here fucking snacking on the couch, snacking on the couch is a vice. Or you're over here hanging out with friends instead of hanging in the gym, hanging out with friends is a vice, okay? Number 3, anything that is used for comfort, pleasure, or an escape to numb emotional pain or avoid fixing your problems. Copes and distractions. So copes and distractions are vices as well. All right. So I'm going to go out and say this. If you drink once a month, bro, that is not a vice. And I want to be clear because here we're going to have the legalistic people who think they're Jesus and they can tell other people how to live their life. Right. You guys might think I'm telling you how to live your life. I'm telling you the information that I received from infinite intelligence. All right. But vices are different for everyone. Okay. If you drink once a month, bro, that is not a vice. Why? Because it doesn't have control over you. Okay. If you masturbate once a month, that isn't a vice either. Okay, because it doesn't fit that description. It doesn't have control over you, right? So vices are habits, are destructive habits that actually have control over you. If you want to enjoy yourself once a month, have a couple glasses of wine with your wife, or you want to go out and have some fun at a club or something and enjoy yourself, and you're still in line with your ideal self, you're still actually fixing the problems in your life, you're still walking in line with your conscience, that is not a vice. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. So I want to be clear, okay? So here are some examples of vices in my life. Number one is women and relationships. And guys, we all have different vices because for some people, women and relationships, they might not use it as a vice, but I did. Like I talked about, I was so unhappy with myself, so ashamed of myself. I had such low self-esteem in myself because I was avoiding my problems that I would run to women as a comfort, right? So that's a vice. I would oversleep as well, which was another vice. I would binge eat and eat a lot of junk food, right? Or I would be scrolling a lot. Okay, so these are all examples of vices in my life. Although I would drink occasionally, right, one time a month, that never had any control over me because it was once in a blue moon, right? It never got to the point where I was like, oh, I don't want to drink, but I can't stop. Never, right? I was only doing it like socially, right? Or just to enjoy myself every now and again, right? It was not hurting my self-esteem or my confidence because they weren't taking power away from me. I had power over the alcohol. Okay, if you don't have power over the alcohol and it controls you, that's negatively going to impact your self-esteem and confidence in yourself because you're not going to actually feel like you have control of your life. And when you don't feel like you have control of your life and something else controls you, you lose self-esteem points and you lose rapport with yourself, which ends up causing you to go to shame and regret. Okay, so nor were they taking me away from my ideal self because they weren't interfering with what my goals were. Now, like I said, we all have different vices, guys, and we all struggle with different things. So we need to identify your vices, bro. That is what we need to get rid of, right? So let's self-reflect a little bit, okay? Now that you wrote down all your vices, you analyzed and you identified your vices, you need to write down the pros and cons of each vice, okay? Write down the pros and cons of each vice. Damn, if I keep fucking drinking every day, my liver in 10 years is going to be toast. I'm going to be fat as fuck for the rest of my life. And if I'm fat as fuck, I'm never going to have the girl that I dream of having, right? I'm going to be stuck with an ugly ass bitch, right? I'm not going to be able to actually like improve myself, right? Or let's say like you fucking smoke weed all the time, right? Damn, well, if I keep smoking weed every day, I'm not going to be able to be productive. And if I'm not able to be productive, then I'm going to be broke for the rest of my life. And if I'm going to be broke for the rest of my life, then I'm going to lack confidence in myself. I'm not going to be able to have the life that I want. And I'm going to live in shame and regret. You guys see, write down the pros and cons of all of these vices and ask yourself, does this take me closer to my ideal self? Does smoking weed every day take me closer to my ideal self, to the man that I'm proud of? Does drinking every fucking day, does eating bullshit every day take me closer to my ideal self? Is this vice making me weaker or stronger? Is drinking every day making me weaker? Absolutely, because it's an easy decision. Instead of standing up to it and building some fucking discipline, which is going to make you stronger. Every decision in life either makes you weaker or stronger. And most people make the decisions that make them weaker, okay? Make the decision that makes you stronger. Stop the fucking weed. Stop the scrolling. Stop the fucking coping with women and all this shit, right? Now, step 2, you're going to have to place a barrier between you and the vice if you successfully want to get rid of your vices. In my life, when I was beginning to work on my sleep addiction, which is what it was, because I was just sleeping so much, I was napping during the day. It was not allowing me to work, not allowing me to make money. I was using it as an escape, okay? I forced myself to get a job at 5 in the morning, which was stocking shelves at Walmart. Yes, I was stocking shelves at Walmart, bro. You know what I'm saying? And I had to get in at 5 in the morning, which means that I had to wake up like at 4:15, okay? When I was working on overcoming my junk food, I literally just threw out all the junk food from my kitchen, all the sugar foods from my kitchen, and I refused to have any bullshit foods in the house. So notice how in both of these examples, I have barriers placed in between me and the vice. When I was working on letting go of women and relationships, I deleted my Instagram, bro. Completely deleted my Instagram. I completely changed my number, and I literally moved to a different state, which, by the way, was the reason that I moved away from New York down to South Carolina. Right? Because essentially, if I'm being honest, guys, I was kind of drowning in pussy in New York. And the more I try to step away from it, I just had no success. I just couldn't bring myself away from that circle of women that I had. So I was like, bro, you know what? I got to get the fuck out of here because I need to place a barrier. right? And only then was I actually able to start fixing the problem. Now, these are all examples of barriers that you can implement in order to finally start regaining back control of your life. So, step 3, now we're going to replace the vice. And this is a very important step because a lot of people actually overlook this. You see, if you do not replace those vices with a good vice, you will fall right back into the same thing 100% of the time, guaranteed. I'll give you $10,000 if you come back to this video and say, Huncho, I removed the vices and I didn't replace them with anything and I'm still good. No, you're not good, bro. You're going to fall right back into the same thing, okay? So the best way to replace all of those bullshit self-destructive habits that drain your dopamine is by working out and committing to your fitness habits, right? You guys know I'm a fitness coach, right? Check this out. Fitness and working out is the best habit to use as a replacement. And here's why. Number one, it amplifies your energy and your ability to be more productive. Guys, imagine if you had 2 times the energy that you had right now. How much more productive would you be? How many more hours of work would you be able to do? How much more work would you be able to get done? You would be able to have a second job. You'd be able to wake up earlier. You'd be able to do overtime. You'd be able to have a side business, just like me. Because as soon as I started focusing on my nutrition, eating healthy, losing weight, feeling better about myself, of my health, because I was committed to my fitness habits, bro, it was amplifying my energy and my ability to be more productive, right? Number 2, the reason why this is the best habit to use as a replacement is because this is the only way to build true confidence, bro. This is the only way to build true confidence and true fucking discipline. How else, bro, are you going to build true confidence? I laugh all the time when I hear guys say, oh, I make a lot of money and I'm confident. Dude, it doesn't matter what car you're driving in. If I reach over the driver passenger door and squeeze your titty, all that confidence is going to go straight out the fucking window. You know what I'm saying? If you pull up to a venue with a Rolex on, right, and I squeeze your man tits, all that confidence that you had is going straight out the window, because no man is truly confident unless he's truly proud of what he sees in the mirror. And if your reflection sucks, you're never going to be truly confident of who you are, right? Another way is like, dude, fitness is the only way to build true discipline, bro. How else are you actually going to build discipline, right? Oh, I go to my 9 to 5. Okay, you're supposed to. You're supposed to. That's not building discipline. How else are you going to force yourself to do the hard shit when you don't feel like it? How else are you going to overcome challenges? How else are you going to push outside your comfort zone and commit to going and doing the work when your body's sore as fuck, when you don't feel like it? How else? The only way that you do that is in fitness, bro, right? That's how you actually build true discipline, because discipline is like a muscle. The more that you begin to use it, the bigger it gets. And the bigger it gets, it's going to start supercharging your entire life, right? Number 3, fitness is the best habit to use as a replacement because it builds character and mindset needed to go past your limits and past your fucking comfort zone, man. You know what I'm saying? This is why I love hanging out with guys who go to the gym, bro, because they all have that dog mentality. You know what I'm saying? When you see that bar and you got 2 plates on the squats and your brain, your thoughts, they're telling you, man, we're done. We're too tired. And you get under there and you still squat that shit. What do you think that's doing to your character, bro? You're cementing in yourself the character of somebody who doesn't quit, of somebody who can do anything he wants. You're building your mindset when you go to the gym and you get outside your fucking comfort zone and you do more than you thought you ever could ever do. That's what creates self-belief, bro. That's why I have the self-belief of a fucking champion, right? Because of that very reason, right? The 4th reason, it improves your health and your sense of well-being, right? Nothing beats the feeling of feeling amazing. Nothing, right? And fitness, that is why I recommend all you guys that are removing these vices, start doubling down with your fitness habit and use the fitness habit as a replacement for all those vices, okay? Now, here's the end task for chapter 3. Identify your vices and put a barrier in between you and the vice. You might need to delete your social media, throw away the alcohol, change your circle of friends, change your work schedule. Be ruthless with your barriers and actions, because devices are actually ruthless to you, bro. They've been wreaking havoc on your life, so don't show them fucking mercy. I hear a lot of guys, oh, it's not that serious, man. I'll just do a little bit better, bro. These habits have been wreaking fucking havoc in your life. Look at yourself, bro. When are you going to actually stand up for yourself and start being ruthless and start taking control of your actual life? So don't continue watching this video if you don't write down ways that you're going to place barriers in between you and devices. So, end task for chapter 3. Begin a workout and nutrition routine or program. Execute it on a daily basis. This will prevent you from falling back into old patterns or behaviors, letting go of the old and taking on the new. That concludes chapter 3. On to chapter 4, my brothers. Chapter 4, we're going to talk about habits. This chapter can absolutely change your life, so I need you guys to really pay attention. Where your life is currently at is a result of your daily habits of the past several years. If you want to change your life and change your future, all you have to do is change your habits, bro. All you have to do is change your habits. You see, your subconscious mind determines your thoughts. Your thoughts determine your self-image. Your self-image determines your identity. Your identity then determines your actions. Your actions then determine your habits, and your habits are what determine your life. So, habits are what determine your future, right? You can eat one cheeseburger today, and you're not going to get fat. Okay? You can invest $5,000 today, but you won't get rich. The only way that these actions will actually take effect is if they become daily actions. And that's what habits are. And I want you guys to understand this, because people think that working out once or twice a week is a habit. Dude, that's not a daily action, bro. You know what I'm saying? Reading a book once a month is not a daily action. Eating a cheeseburger once a month is not a daily action. Eating one cheeseburger once a week is not a daily action. Okay? Habits are daily actions. And this is how you actually control your future. That's what makes them have power. I want you guys to analyze planes. If you guys think about it, let's say you take off from New York, right? Let's say you're in LaGuardia Airport. Shout out to all the brothers from New York. Okay? The plane takes off. The plane is headed to Miami, right? If that plane veers off 1 degree from its path, in 5 minutes, it's not going to have a big impact. In 10 minutes, it's not going to have a big impact. In 4 hours, it's going to have a huge impact. It's probably going to land in fucking Texas or California just because it veered off course 1 degree, but it veered off course for an extended period of time, which has a massive impact. So notice how a small little change over time creates a huge difference. And that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about habits, okay? Habits must be implemented daily in order to have an effect. And there's actually a formula for this. This concept is rooted in physics, okay? Actions times time equals big change. This is called the concept of impulse or momentum. Shout out to the nerds watching this video, right? Force multiplied by time equals impulse, which is change in momentum. So what am I talking about? Check this out, guys. If you exercise 30 minutes every day, that is a small force. That's a really small force, right? But you multiply that by 6 months, dude, that is a major health transformation, okay? I guarantee you, if you walk every day for 30 minutes, for 1 week, it's not going to do a lot. You do that shit for 6 months, it's going to be a major transformation, okay? Same thing with a cheeseburger, right? Let's say you eat a cheeseburger 1 day. That's a small little action, right? But if you multiply that by 6 months, you're going to be fat and unhealthy. Okay, so you guys starting to notice how the habit can be a really small habit, an insignificant change, but over time fucking multiplies it to have a massive effect on your life. And that's what I want to show you guys, okay? Success and accomplishments do not happen overnight. It is a result of small marginal gains and small marginal improvements over time that eventually leads to that breakthrough moment or that overnight success. This is also why a lot of people quit on their habits, which means they never accomplish their goals. Small 1% improvements will not be noticeable for a while. You know what I'm saying? Even though you might not be seeing the results, if you simply stick with it long enough, bro, you will actually hit that compounding threshold that will lead to your breakthrough moment, quote unquote. And here's 3 pictures that beautifully represents what we're talking about, okay? Think about that guy in the top left. He's been mining for fucking 1 month, right? He's been mining for 1 month. He's been mining 4 hours a day for a month. And seemingly, he's making no progress. Seemingly, his life hasn't changed. Seemingly, his life is no different. But check this out. He hit the compounding threshold. Because if he keeps mining for 5 minutes more, he's going to hit the jackpot that's going to change his life, right? And then people will see the jackpot and then they'll be like, oh, He just got lucky. Motherfucker, I've been mining for 2 fucking months, 4 hours a day. Okay? So do you guys see how small daily habits, they have to hit like a compounding threshold so that you can actually start to reap the benefits? Okay? Same thing with the ice cube, bro. Look, an ice at 20 degrees, 21 degrees is not going to melt. It changes a degree. It goes up to 22. It goes up to 23. It goes up to 24. It's not going to melt. It's going to stay the same, right? It's going to go up to 26, 27. Those small little changes in the degrees, the ice cube is still solid. As soon as it hits 32, boom, the ice starts to melt, even though it only changed 1 degree. So do you guys see how there's like a small compounding threshold that once you reach it, that's when those habits give you the quote unquote breakthrough moment, which really isn't a breakthrough moment. It's simply the buildup. Okay. And here we have on the right tectonic plates, right? Which is essentially how earthquake happens, right? The earth rubs on each other, creating friction for years and decades and decades and decades and decades. And seemingly it's making no difference. It's having no effect. You're not seeing progress. Your life is not changed. And all of a sudden, boom, that shit splits the fucking earth apart. Okay? So small actions over time is what creates success and breakthrough moments. Okay? And here's an even better picture that I want you to study. So this is what people think hitting their goals looks like, right? If you see that linear line, that's straight, people think that success looks like straight up and down, right? But the truth is success is exponential. Same concept, which means that in the beginning, as you guys see that curve, it's actually still zero. The progress is zero. The progress is zero because it needs time in order to compound. But once it starts to compound, it starts to fucking take up, boom. And there's your breakthrough. There's success. There's the Bugatti. There's a 6-pack of abs. There he is ripped as fuck. There he is making $500,000 a year. There he is X, Y, and Z, right? So what does this mean? All you need to do is implement one small daily action and habit and not quit. Before you know it, you're miles ahead of everyone. And guys, that is the story of my life last year, right? So the moment I realized I just needed to do one small habit every single day in order to change my future, that's where it all changed for me, guys, right? I decided to start studying YouTube 1 hour a day, right? I decided to stick to my meal plan every single day. And I decided to read 30 minutes every single day. And next thing you know, 6 to 12 months later, my life is completely different. This is how I crushed all of my goals, by building habits at a small and manageable pace. And this compounds over time, right? So people think that successful people just have gifts or get lucky. You just have good genetics. Oh, you're just naturally confident, dude. Like, you're just good at sales. You know what I'm saying? No, just do one small habit every single day that will improve all of these areas, and you'll get there too. That's exactly how I did it. I'm not good at sales. I'm not good at I'm not naturally confident. I'm actually an introvert. Guys see me now and they're like, yo, you're confident. You're an extrovert. Guys, it was just the result of small daily habits over time. Okay. 1% better every day is 37 times better in 1 year. If you can get 1% better every day after a year, you're going to be a fucking huncho. You're going to be a fucking huncho. Okay. The habits that you decide to implement in your life should be directly correlated to that vision of your ideal self that we painted in chapter 1. Okay. You need to come up with habits that are going to take you closer to that ideal vision of yourself. Right. So here are the 4 categories of habits that every single habit is going to fall under, and every man must work on every single day to actualize his ideal self and become his best self. Right. We have mind, body, business, and relationships, right? So the habits for the mind. You must improve your mindset every day. This is essential to your success as a man. Any goal relating to self-confidence, knowledge, mental strength, resilience, belief, they all fall under this category, okay? So what am I saying? You must have 4 daily habits in your life, and 1 habit for each category, right? 1 habit for your mind, 1 habit for your body, 1 habit for your relationships, and then 1 habit for your business or your career goals, okay? So the body, health is wealth. Any health or body goals that you have, they're going to fall under this category, right? Business or career. Every man must work on progressing his business or career. If you stay stagnant, you are not being your best self, whether that's acquiring new skills for a job or a promotion, or working on your business, or developing a business plan, all right? And then relationships. Every man should work on his relationship skills with women, with family, and with other men. Pause. You know what I'm saying? If that's what you're into, no discrimination, you know what I'm saying? I'm just not my thing. Whether that's building friendships, getting good at social interactions, developing social skills, or working on your game with women. It's a vital part of a man's life. So, all of these four categories that we just talked about, right? Mind, body, business or career, and relationships, you need to come up with one goal for each of them. Okay. So, here's an example of what I did when I was starting out, right? I was starting to read 5 to 10 minutes a day, right? And I was reading because I was building my mind. So, that was a mind category of habit, right? And then my second habit was I'm going to talk to a stranger a day. I'm going to have a conversation with one stranger a day. And that was a habit that was building my relationship category, right? My relationship category, my ability to speak to people and develop relationships. The way I decided to address that habit was by talking to a stranger a day, right? And then for your career goal or your business goals, you can start implementing the habit of working 1 hour extra of overtime every single day, right? And even though these are small habits, guys, this is literally what I did. And if you just sustain this over time and build consistency, your life is going to change 100% of the time, right? So here are example of my 4 daily habits. Follow my meal plan and my workout plan every single day, right? That's my body, right? Talk to a stranger a day, relationships, right? Read 15 minutes a day, working on my mindset. And then do 2 hours of YouTube related work every single day. And that's my business category, right? So let's refer back to your chapter 1 answers to generate some ideas so that you can have habits in your life that are actually going to start creating that vision and take you closer and closer to that ideal self. So, based on whatever goals that you wrote down in chapter 1, write 3 tasks that you can do per category that will move you towards that goal. And this might take you some time, right? Let's say for question number 2, when I ask you what does a perfect day in your life look like, let's say that you said waking up in a penthouse and driving to the gym in a Lamborghini, right? So based off that answer, you know that you're going to have some really big goals for your business or career category, right? You're going to have a business that probably generates $1 million a year. Okay. So what habit can I implement every single day that's going to take me closer to having a business that's going to generate $1 million a year? Right? If you're doing YouTube and you want to become a YouTuber and you want to build a business on YouTube, which is what I did, that means I'm going to have to study 2 hours of YouTube every single day, or 1 hour of YouTube, or 30 minutes. Start off small, please. Right? So let's say you're a lawyer and you've been working as a lawyer for 10 years. Okay, fuck. That means I'm going to have to study how to open up my own law firm for 30 minutes a day for the next month. And that's going to be my habit, because then I'm going to open up my own law firm, be able to free up my time, and then be able to actually make $1 million a year. So you guys start to see how you reverse engineer your actual goals into daily habits. You know what I'm saying? So write down 3 tasks per category that you can actually do that's going to move you closer. And of the 3 tasks that you write, you're going to pick the best one. Pick the one that gives you the biggest return on investment, right? Let's say for your relationship category or your relationship goals, right? You write down talking to a stranger a day, right? Scrolling 1 hour on Hinged or Bumble, or doing community service to get good at socializing, right? Which out of those 3 has the biggest return on investment? Obviously, the Hinge and the Bumble one is the useless piece of crap. So throw that one out, and you're left with the other 2, and pick one of the other 2. So you guys see how you start to eliminate the ones that have low return on investment, and you're going to stay with the one that has the biggest ROI. All right. Ask yourself, what single daily habit I need to perform every day in order to move me closer to my insert desired goal, in order to move me closer to making $1 million a year, in order to move me closer to having a 6-pack, in order to move me closer to being confident and being a great socializer, right? Whatever the goal is, because like I said, we all have different answers for the answers in chapter 1, right? So determine your 4 daily habits. Everybody after watching this should have 4 daily habits, and you should be able to name them off the top of your head, right? And we're going to execute them every single day. Make sure that they're small, they're doable, and they're not time consuming. This is the biggest mistake people make. Because I used to do the same shit, bro. I used to make these big ass goals. I'm going to read 2 hours a day. I'd read for 2 hours one day, and I wouldn't read again for a whole month. And like we said, eating one cheeseburger in a month is irrelevant. But eating one cheeseburger every single day is 100 times better, right? So you're going to want to make these small actionable steps, but you're going to want to execute them every single day. Okay? Sprinting is a recipe for failure because it's not sustainable, right? But if you run a marathon, you'll go farther, right? Let's say, I want you to run 100 miles. Well, if you're sprinting top speed, you're never going to finish the 100 miles. You're going to get tired on mile 20, right? But if you're jogging, you'll finish the 100 miles, right? So that's the whole point, right? All right, guys. So we've touched on a lot of fundamental beliefs, a lot of fundamental practices, a lot of fundamental stuff. Now we're going to get into some even more actionable things that you can start to implement, right? And this is going to be the dopamine detox, chapter 5. We're going to begin to rewire your brain for success. Okay, dopamine detox is the next step in self mastery. We are joining the concepts that we learned in chapter 3 and 4, and we're going to implement them in real time. I want to begin to rewire your brain for success. Okay. And in this lesson, my job is to show you in real time how much dopamine affects your ability to function, your motivation, your drive, and the way that you feel about yourself. You see, one of the biggest keys to my success and in changing my life around was my ability to remove all the cheap dopamine from my life. I cut it out completely. The only dopamine that I got was from chasing my motherfucking goals and bettering myself. I literally brainwashed myself to get addicted to self improvement. And I'm going to teach you how to do the same. So I want you to analyze this picture, right? We got Mr. NPC on the left, who, you know what I'm saying, listens to music all day, plays video games, watches endless hours of YouTube, and watches porn. And then we have Mr. on the right, who invests in Bitcoin, plays sports, and reads books, and looks like a gangster, right? So notice how these two, they're getting their pleasure from two different things, right? And so if you can rewire your brain to only want pleasure from self-improvement habits, you're going to completely brainwash yourself into becoming a self-improvement beast like Huncho did last year, right? That's why my life changed. So if you continue to get cheap dopamine from bullshit, this isn't taking you closer to your ideal self. You are going to be unable to actually make a change in your life. The only dopamine that you get in life should come from accomplishing your motherfucking goals and executing your motherfucking habits. Dopamine reinforces behavior. If you watch YouTube for 10 hours and you get a dopamine rush, you're going to keep doing that shit because that reinforces behavior. If you hit a PR in the gym and you see a fat ass in the gym, that's going to reinforce your behavior of going to the gym because you're releasing dopamine in the gym. Does that make sense? So if you're getting dopamine from BS sources, you will never reinforce the right behaviors or the right habits. This is how you'll begin to get addicted to self-improvement and self-actualization. So here's the end task for chapter 5. This was a quick chapter, but this is such an important chapter because if you just do this shit, bro, it's going to change your life, okay? I'm going to tell you guys a dopamine detox to follow for the next 7 days. This is how you'll rewire your dopamine pathways by removing all the cheap dopamine garbage and only drawing dopamine from the self-improvement endeavors and habits. Now, take a screenshot, you know what I'm saying, pause the video, and take a deep breath. Because maybe some of you guys watching this shit probably think you can't even do this, right? But let's go through them, right? Number 1, no porn and no masturbation. Okay, number 2 is no alcohol, weed, or drugs. Number 3 is uninstall the social medias. Number 4 is replace all social media use with podcasts or YouTube videos to improve at a skill that you're working on. So let's say you're trying to work on your social skills because that's one of your relationship goals. So the only social media that you're going to use for this whole week is going to be podcasts on developing your social skills and relationship skills. All right. I didn't say watch Fresh and Fit or watch bullshit entertainment. Watch educational stuff that's going to help you develop the skill. One of the skills that is your actual goals, okay? Number 5 is read 10 minutes a day. Number 6 is get 8 hours of sleep. Number 7 is cold showers, right? The last 30 seconds of your shower, right? Turn it up cold all the way and stay in there for 30 seconds. Number 8 is no phone for the first hour upon waking up. Number 9, walk outside every day for 20 minutes. Number 10 is remove all Netflix and all television. And then number 11, after saying and writing down your affirmations in the morning, write down 5 things that you're grateful for, okay? This is a dopamine detox for the next 7 days. And guys, this will change your life because you're going to see what it feels like to operate life at a completely different level, right? Because all these vices and all this cheap dopamine is reinforcing shitty behavior. And if you actually do this for 7 days, I guarantee your life is going to change, all right? So we talked about a lot of concepts. Now we're on to sustaining the wins. Let's talk about how we can actually make this shit sustainable so that we don't fall off the wagon and we can maintain progress. The key to success is not to go 100 miles an hour. It's to go 10 miles an hour over a long period of time. Consistency is the key to self-mastery. Let's talk about how to sustain your habits, your progress, and your wins. Okay, by now you've probably made some changes in your life and things are starting to fall into place and they're starting to get rolling. In this chapter, I'm going to teach you how to sustain this so that you can do what everyone else fails to do. Stay consistent. Huncho, what's the secret, bro? Huncho, how you was able to quit barbering and retire and make $500,000 a year in less than 12 months? Consistency, motherfucker. While you was out partying with fucking friends and jacking off the Pornhub and eating all this bullshit and fucking watching Netflix, I was consistent as fuck while you were not. And that's what we're going to talk about in this chapter, right? So we're going to go into willpower and discipline, how not to use them. Most people think that successful or self-improved individuals have great discipline and willpower. Okay, this is actually false. This is not true. Of course, there is some degree of discipline and willpower involved. However, successful individuals have learned how to set up systems in place so that they don't have to use discipline and willpower whatsoever. The secret is to set up systems and set up your environment in such a way that you never need to use any discipline or willpower to execute your daily habits and execute your goals. Okay? So let me explain what I'm talking about because this might be going over your head, right? So willpower and discipline is your ability to practice self-restraint, your ability to control your emotions and ignore impulses. Every time you see a cheeseburger and you stop yourself, every time you see a fat ass and you want to cheat on your girlfriend, every time you want to get pissed off and you let your wife, right? The emotion, the power responsible for you controlling yourself is called willpower and discipline, right? But here's the kicker. Humans have a limited amount of willpower and a limited amount of discipline available per day. It gets drained as you go along, and you end up giving into bad decisions, vices, and behaviors, which you regret on later. So what did I just say? Okay, willpower and discipline has a battery life to it. The more that you use it throughout the day, the less of it that you have, right? That's why if you guys ever realize, if you come home from a stressful day at work and your girlfriend says some simple ass shit, you'll be pissed off as hell and you'll snap out at her. And you'll snap at her, right? Why you snap so quick at the end of the day? Because your willpower and discipline gets drained and you don't have self-restraint. So that is why it's super important to not use your willpower and discipline, right? It's important to conserve it and use as little as possible of it so that you can stay on course and actually have willpower and discipline available for when you really need it to actually practice self-restraint and accomplish your goals. So I hope this is making sense, right? What I'm saying is that since humans have a limited amount of willpower every single day, we need to stop relying on it and draining it, because if we rely on something that's limited, we're going to end up failing and not being able to stay consistent. So I'm going to teach you guys how to do that in this lesson, right? So how to use less willpower and less discipline. Okay, so here's a little story time, guys, right? So one of my goals was to start reading because I realized that most successful people and most people that I look up to and most people that self-actualize and self-master themselves, they always read. So I decided, you know what? Let me start reading 15 minutes a day. All right, cool. 15 minutes is cool. Let me start reading 60 minutes a day, right? When I took the reading up to an hour, I was starting to fall asleep, right? Because I would read at my house, and every time I sat on my couch, I would fall asleep after like 15 minutes, right? So I decided, you know what? Every time it's time to fucking read, I'm going to drive myself to Starbucks or to Barnes and Nobles, and I'm going to sit my ass there and fucking read. So I will force myself to actually read for a whole hour and not use any discipline and willpower. Because guess what, bro? I am not falling asleep in a Starbucks. I am not falling asleep in Barnes and Nobles. I'm not going to let people hear me snore. You know what I'm saying? So that's an example of a way to actually force yourself to do something, to do a daily habit without actually using discipline and willpower, right? Versus being stuck at the house and having to fight to sleep and having to fight yourself and having to gather motivation and discipline just to read a fucking book. Okay. I hope this is making sense. Here's another example, right? So I wanted to start waking up early because I was reading and I realized that all these successful people, they wake up early, right? And as you guys know, I had an addiction with oversleeping. So in order to not use as much discipline and willpower in the morning, in order to force myself to wake up, I literally signed up for a job that required me to wake up at 4 a.m, like I said before, right? So when the alarm went off at 4 a.m, I didn't need any discipline. I didn't need any willpower. I got up my ass and went to work because my reputation was on the fucking line. So that was a system that I implemented to not use discipline or willpower when waking up in the morning, okay? Here's another story time, right? When I was having an issue staying consistent in the gym after my car accident, when I fractured 6 bones in my spine, right? I had an orbital bone fracture. I had a fracture in my chest. I had a fracture in my finger, right? And I was, guys, when I would go to the gym, I'd be crying, bro. I'd literally be fucking crying because I was in so much damn pain. But I knew I needed to fight through it, right? So I ended up hiring a fitness coach during that time, right? The reason for that was because having that extra layer of accountability took the willpower and the discipline away from actually going to the gym, which just forced me to just go without even thinking about it, without even using discipline, without even using willpower, right? Because I didn't want to let this motherfucker down, and I had invested in myself, right? So these are all examples of systems, strategies that people like me or successful people, right? They use and implement in order to stop relying on fucking discipline, bro. You know what I'm saying? Stop relying on willpower. That's only going to take you so far. You're not going to be able to be consistent ever, right? I guarantee you. Okay. So the whole point of this chapter is to identify where you're struggling. If you're struggling with your fitness habit, if you're struggling with developing a skill set, if you're struggling with your job or your career, if you're struggling with whatever habit or goal you're struggling with, right? You have to think of an environment change or a schedule change to take the discipline and willpower out of it. You know what I'm saying? Come up with an environment change or a schedule change. You need to take the choice out of it because having the choice drains discipline and willpower. Choice fatigue, right? So like if you have a choice to snooze your alarm clock, you're going to have to use a lot of discipline to not do it, right? I didn't have a choice because I had to get to work. My reputation was on the line. My bills were on the line. So I forced myself to wake up in the morning without using discipline or willpower at all. Same thing with my fitness, right? Guys, I didn't have a choice. I had to eat my fucking meals. Because when I checked in with my coach, I didn't want him to think I was a bitch, right? So I didn't have no choice but to eat my meal plan, right? Because my coach was giving me my meal plan. So I hope it's starting to make sense. And I hope you guys pause the video and start thinking, man, how can I force myself to fucking win? How can I force myself to not use discipline and not use my willpower, right? So here's some examples. Delete the social media. If you find yourself using discipline to stop scrolling, bro, delete the fucking social media, bro. Take that shit off. I took all my social medias off for months. The only thing I had was YouTube, and I was just uploading videos on YouTube. I wasn't even doing Instagram or anything like that. Throw away the ice cream. That way you'd even have to see it. That way you'd even have to use discipline not to eat ice cream. Just remove yourself from that environment or remove the ice cream. You know what I'm saying? Change your circle of friends. If your friends are always inviting you out to the clubs and you know that you shouldn't be going out because you got bills to pay and you got to save money and you got to wake up early to execute your goals, remove those friends from your life, bro. You're not going to have to use discipline to say no. You know what I'm saying? Change your job schedule or even hire a coach like I talked about, right? So the end task for this chapter, guys, is to identify where you're struggling and begin to implement changes in order to permanently fix and avoid the problem. This is how you'll conserve your willpower and your discipline. This is the only way to sustain progress and be consistent. Every person that I know that I look up to, every person that I know who has self-actualized in a short amount of time, who has reinvented their life, they all understand this and they all do this concept. That's why investing in coaches is such a big deal. That's why it works every fucking time. Right? And I've talked about that in other videos. So discipline and willpower will only take you so far. Use as little of it as you can. Right? And I believe chapter 7, we're going to get into the last chapter. You know what I'm saying? I've probably been going on for like an hour and a half. You know what I'm saying? So pay attention, take some notes because this chapter is quite important. All right. So by now, it should be no secret that the people around you have a major impact on your life. In chapter 2, we talked about how your environment has a major impact on your identity and on who you are, right? I said if you're a lazy person and you're trying to stop being a lazy person, but you're hanging around lazy people, you're never going to be able to change your identity, right? So if we aim to change our identity, guys, we should also aim to change our environments, our friendships, and our relationships. The people in your immediate life are a reflection of your current level of personal development. They're a reflection of your habits. They are a reflection of your mindset. They are a reflection of your bank account. They are a reflection of your weight. I guarantee you, dude, if you're fat, you probably have friends that invite you to eat bullshit. They invite you to the buffets. They invite you to eat chicken wings. You know what I'm saying? So if you continue associating with those same people, you will be unable to ascend the ladder of self-mastery and self-actualize your vision into existence like the Huncho did. Relationships and friendships can be likened to vices, like I talked about in the vice chapter. They will hold you back from becoming the person that you actually need to be. So let's enter the lonely chapter. Okay. So what is the lonely chapter? The lonely chapter is a period of solitude in your life where you intentionally cut off the friends and relationships which were negatively affecting you and are no longer serving you. This typically happens in the middle stages of self improvement and of self mastery. Okay. You don't identify with those people anymore, bro. You know what I'm saying? The things which unified you and your friendships, the things which unified you and your relationships, they're no longer present. Going out, doing all these vices, excuse mindset, not getting the work done, right? As soon as you start to disassociate yourself with those actions and vices, you're going to actually no longer identify with those people in your life. Therefore, you need to actually intentionally cut off these people from your life. And that is exactly what I did. You know what I'm saying? Guys, I cut off all my friends. I cut off all my relationships, all my friends, people that were no longer serving me. I needed to remove them from my life in order to actually change and cement the identity of the person that I was creating. Okay. Without this time of solitude, you will never be able to find yourself, know yourself, trust yourself, or recreate yourself. You will always have an external dependency instead of a self sufficient internal dependency in yourself alone. And you will never be able to detach from your old self to create the new self. I said a lot in such a short paragraph, and I'm hoping you guys are understanding. You know what I'm saying? You will never be able to actually have self-sufficient internal dependency in yourself alone. And you will never be able to detach from your old self in order to create this new self, this ideal self that we're creating in this self-mastery course. Okay. Someone said solitude is the furnace of transformation. Without solitude, we remain victims of our society, of our friends, of our family, of our environments, and continue to be entangled in the illusions of false self. Powerful statement, right? Pablo Picasso, the great artist, said, without great solitude, no serious work is possible. If you don't take time alone, you will never be able to work on yourself as you should, okay? Another one said, solitude is where one discovers one is not alone. Think about that statement, bro. Solitude is where one discovers one is not alone. When you stop relying on other people for fucking validation, when you stop relying on other people for acceptance, when you stop relying on other people for identity, you begin to accept yourself, validate yourself, and start accepting yourself. And you start to realize, bro, I'm the only person I have. I'm the only person I ever fucking needed, right? It's a powerful thing, bro. Solitude is essential in this fucking journey, right? But there's a difference between loneliness and solitude, which if you guys have seen my videos, I've talked about monk mode before. Solitude is another word is another word for monk mode, right? Where you intentionally cut off people and you just focus on yourself, rebuilding yourself, detaching from the old to create the new. Now, I want to get into the difference between loneliness and solitude, because we'll have a lot of crybabies on this channel and a lot of crybabies in general. Oh, I feel alone. I don't have any friends, or all this bullshit. I'm going to set the record straight because I'm not telling you guys to be lonely. Okay. I'm telling you guys to focus on a moment of solitude, right? And here's the difference. Loneliness is when you're alone by default and not by choice. Solitude is when you're alone by choice and by a conscious decision to intentionally cut off the people that are no longer serving you. Notice the difference, right? If you feel lonely, right, and you're alone by default and not choice, that's probably because you lack social skills. It's probably because you're a fucking social retard, right? Or you don't have an ability to make friends. Yeah, you're going to feel lonely, right? But if you intentionally cut off people from your life that were no longer serving you, understand that this is an intentional decision that you have made to put yourself in a position to win. And you are in the lonely chapter, the chapter of solitude, and that's completely fine and okay. Okay. Loneliness, right, is often a man who lacks direction and clarity. You know what I'm saying? If you feel alone, bro, I guarantee you lack direction. I guarantee you did not answer the question in chapter 1. If you lack clarity, I guarantee you feel alone, right? But if you have a clear vision of your ideal self and a clear direction and a clear vision of where you're headed, you're not going to feel loneliness. You're in a chapter of solitude, okay? People that feel lonely, they're just not doing enough. You know what I'm saying? When I was quote unquote lonely in my chapter of solitude, I didn't really feel lonely because I was so fucking busy reading, working, studying, working with clients, building up myself, you know what I'm saying? Doing all these habits on myself that, dude, I was busy doing the work required. You know what I'm saying? A person who feels lonely is someone who has not come to terms with himself. You're scared to face yourself. That's why you're looking for an escape. That's why you can't take 1 week of being in solitude because you feel lonely because you haven't come to terms with yourself. You're looking for a cope or a distraction to distract yourself away from the fact that you are nobody. You're not somebody you're proud of. Your life is not a life that you're proud of. You hate your life and you hate yourself. So you're trying to find a cope and then you trigger loneliness in yourself because you want to distract yourself. Yeah, that's why you feel lonely, right? But when you're in the chapter of solitude, that is somebody who has faced his demons. You know what I'm saying? Guys, I faced my fucking demons. I faced them head on. I removed all the distractions. I removed all the cope. I looked at myself in the mirror and I got to work on myself. I faced my fucking demons. I really fucking did. Especially when I was going through that car accident. I got run over and I was stuck in my house for 4 months straight in a fucking neck brace. I couldn't even walk outside. I couldn't drive. I couldn't do nothing. I faced my demons. Solitude. You know what I'm saying? So, most people that complain about feeling alone are not doing enough. You're not self-improving enough, bro. You have too much fucking free time. You lack direction, you lack vision, you lack clarity. You know what I'm saying? You haven't faced yourself. You're looking for a cope and a distraction. It means that you need to get busier doing the things which will help you develop as a person. The 4 habits that we talked about, bro. Mind, body, business, and relationships. You're not doing enough. So stop being a little bitch and start working out more. Start reading more. Start working a second job. I'm fucking lonely. Dude, why do you have 4 hours free every day? Do you guys think I have 4 hours free? I could if I wanted to, but I choose not to, right? That is the most common mistake that I see. Oh, I'm lonely. Motherfucker, you're just lazy as fuck and you're not doing anything meaningful with your life. Because if you were, you'd be so fucking busy, you wouldn't even have time to tell yourself, oh, I'm fucking lonely. Yeah, maybe once every few months, you know what I'm saying? Once every 2 months or once a month, maybe you might get that little feeling, right? It's normal, right? But we're living in a chapter of solitude and not in a state of loneliness. Those are 2 different fucking things, gentlemen, right? So understand that you are in this chapter of solitude by choice. And it means that you're working on yourself so much that you either do not have the time to invest in new friendships or relationships, or you're just patiently waiting for high value individuals to associate with. You know what I'm saying? Guys, I only have like 2 friends in my life, right? One lives in the United States of America, and I'm in Colombia, so I really don't hang out with him. And one lives in Colombia. That's it. I don't even have time to spend to invest on new friendships. I don't have time to be hanging out with friends and doing all this fuck shit. The only friend that I have here in Colombia, I coincidentally met him at an airport and I struck up a conversation with him. Come to find out, he's one of the most stand-up dudes I've ever met. This guy's a fucking brilliant mind, a great friend to have around. Other than that, that's all the friendships I need, and that's all the friendships that I fucking have. High value individuals, bro. You know what I'm saying? So when you begin to ascend the ladder of self-improvement, you're going to be alone for some time, right? But once you begin to achieve the outcomes of the person, once you begin to get ripped, once you begin to develop your mindset, to raise your frequency, to develop this person inside of you, once you begin to develop somebody of value, right, you will begin to attract other people who are also of value. You know what I'm saying? Once you become someone of value, you begin to identify others on your same level, right? Whereas before, you would not have been able to perceive or identify them because you are finally now in their frequency. You know what I'm saying? It's like, guys, it's like a radio. Let's say you're tuning the radio to FM 96.7, right? The only way that you're going to be able to listen to that station of 96.7 is if your frequency is tuned to 96.7, right? So if your frequency was at 90.2, you're not going to be able to recognize 96.7. You're not going to be able to realize 96.7. You're not going to be able to actually identify 96.7, right? Because your frequency is so low. So once you begin to actually build yourself up a value in this chapter of solitude, your frequency is actually going to raise, right? And this is what you call the power of like frequencies. Like attract like. You begin to attract like-minded people into your life, right? So relationships and friendships, they are investments. You're paying for it with your time, which is worth more than goddamn fucking money, bro. You know what I'm saying? An investment is something that gives you something in return. Bro, what are you getting out of that friendship? What are you getting out of that relationship? You know what I'm saying? If you invested $100 into a stock that you knew wasn't going to give you anything in return, would you continue investing money into that shit? Think about that, bro. A lot of you guys continue investing time into that fucking toxic ass woman who does nothing for you, bro. Absolutely adds nothing to your life. Matter of fact, she takes value away from you. She drains you, just how she was draining me, bro. I was in a relationship with a person who didn't believe in me whatsoever, bro. Didn't believe in any ideas, didn't believe in my potential. And I'm not hating, I'm just saying facts. You know what I'm saying? Someone who was fucking out there, like just taking me away from my vision from my life. And it wasn't until I cut that person off that I fucking blossomed into who the fuck I am today. You know what I'm saying? So, bro, relationships and friendships are investments. What are you getting out of that friendship and that relationship? You know what I'm saying? It's more important to invest your time into the right things because time is worth a million times more than money. Because you never get your fucking time back, bro. But you can get your money back, right? So if your relationship is not helping you become a better person, is not adding value to your life, then you need to fucking leave it. And this is where a lot of people fall off the wagon. This is where a lot of motherfuckers fold and quit because they're pussies. They're scared to make the hard decisions, right? But I've had to make some tough decisions in my life. I've had to make some decisions I wish I didn't have to make, but I had to make them out of respect for myself and out of respect for my conscience of the vision that I had made, that I had received from infinite intelligence, right? Let's just put it that way, right? So if your friends are your only friends, if your friends are only your friends because they make you laugh and they're fucking funny, those aren't friends, bro. Those are fucking clowns, right? If you hang around people, oh, that's my friend. Okay, why is he your friend? Oh, because we crack jokes. All right, that's a fucking clown. I don't need clowns in my life, bro. I really don't. And you don't either, right? Because those clowns have not taken you anywhere productive in your entire life, right? So just as relationships and friendships have the power to ruin your life and your potential, so too they have the power to propel you to heights that you never thought was possible, right? This is called the law of the mastermind, right? Now, what am I talking about? The mastermind principle consists of an alliance of two or more minds working in perfect harmony for the attainment of a common definitive object. No two minds ever come together without a third invisible force, which may be likened to a third mind. When a group of individual minds are coordinated and function in harmony, the increased energy created through that alliance becomes available to every individual of that group. So what am I saying? What I'm saying is that when you ally yourself with like-minded people and like-minded individuals, this creates a powerful effect, which is why you see all these businesses or all these fucking powerful people or all these fucking people, you know what I'm saying, who actually accomplish shit. They always have that powerful alliance or that powerful friend. You know, for me, I had a powerful friend back home in South Carolina, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to him if he's watching this video, who actually like was that person who once we joined ideas, right? And once I got around him and once we started to communicate all our goals and visions and motivate one another, like that's all I needed. And that created that effect principle of the mastermind effect, right? Here's another way to see it. The law of the mastermind may be likened to the act of one who connects many electric batteries to a single transmission wire, thereby stepping up the power passing over that line by the amount of energy the batteries carry. Each mind, through the principle of mind chemistry, stimulates all the mind in the group. So it's like you're supercharging, you're connecting multiple batteries into one. That's going to supercharge everything to its maximum function and potential. Okay? So you guys have to be patient because this is where a lot of people are going to fall off course and revert back to their idiot ways. You know what I'm saying? Because they cannot remain patient in the midst of solitude. Your ability to accomplish your goals, self-actualize, and bridge the gap between where you are and where you want to be will largely depend on your ability to be able to handle solitude for a period of time. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to give you guys some personal tips on how I endured this moment of solitude, which I'm just starting to get out of probably the last few months. Okay, so here are some important keys to enduring this lonely chapter. Number one is get a mentor. That's what I did, right? Getting a mentor is essential, bro. I don't know a single person who's been able to self-actualize in such a short amount of time without one. Every person that changes their identity, that becomes a different person, that quits their fucking job, that gets ripped as fuck, they all have mentors, bro. I've talked about it before. Every person that gets ripped has had a fitness coach. Every person that grows a business has had a business coach. It's just a fact, and it's true in my life as well. I've had fitness coaches and I've had business coaches within the last year, bro. I didn't do this on my fucking own, okay? Having a mentor is critical during this phase so that the time that you spend during this phase is actually minimized instead of it being dragged out for a long time. You know what I'm saying? So what am I saying? Guys, these are the 3 reasons why mentorship is essential in this chapter of solitude. Number one, it's going to save you years. It's going to save you years of trial and error because you're acquiring the exact knowledge and you're buying the 10 years of mistakes and the 10 years of trial and error that it took that person to figure out what he knows, so that you don't have to take 10 years, so that it can take you 6 months. And then you guys see Huncho. Oh my God, Huncho, your story is amazing. Bro, I invested in mentors. Stop being a cheap fuck. Straight up. If I was a cheap fuck, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. I'd be a bitch. If you're scared to take risks, you're going to stay where you're at, because the biggest risk is not taking a risk. I decided to take a risk and stop being a cheap fuck and invest in myself. And that is why I'm at where I'm at today, right? So mentorship also prevents burnout, because you have guidance, which shortens the amount of time you'll spend stuck in the trenches, bro. You know what I'm saying? It'll shorten the amount of time you're spent struggling alone, which is where most people give up, like I said. And mentorship is also powerful because it reshapes your mindset. Being exposed to someone who's already operating at a high level will teach you what kind of standards, what kind of mindsets, and what kind of expectations you need to have to reach the same level, right? This is the law of exposure. So that's the first advice for people that want to actually endure this phase of solitude and actually reinvent their life, bro, right? Tip number 2 is associating with people that have the same goals and objective. Joining an online community, bro. Oh, it's Huncho. Sounds like you're selling some shit. Bro, I'm telling you what I've done. I'm telling you what I've done. You know what I'm saying? So being around momentum rewires what you think is normal. If you're around a group of fucking winners, group of people that are elevating, you're going to raise yourself to that fucking standard. You know what I'm saying? When everyone around you is showing up, leveling up, pushing limits, it changes what you believe is possible. Consistency becomes fucking normal. Winning becomes normal. And slowly, your identity starts to shift to match your environment. Because like I talked about, your environment determines your identity. So joining an online community of like-minded individuals, bro. You know what I'm saying? If you're on the fitness path, on a fitness journey, join that kind of community. If you're on a fucking like a business journey, join that kind of community. Whatever journey you're on right now, whatever phase you're in, joining an online community is powerful. It doesn't have to be online. It can be in person too, right? But make sure it's an actual good community, because unfortunately, a lot of the in-person stuff is fucking weird. You know what I'm saying? Just being honest. Like, the friendships that I've made, half of them have been online. Like I said, I got 2 real friends. One of them I met online, and one I met was in person, right? So join the online communities, guys, because that's going to be very important during this phase. And then the third tip for enduring this chapter of solitude, which some of you guys might be laughing, but it's the truth. I'm telling you what I've done, like I said, is wanking one off every once in a while. What did you just say? Yeah. Jacking one off, like squeezing one off every once in a while, bro. And then getting right back on track. You know what I'm saying? And I'm being a little funny, but I'm being honest. You know what I'm saying? So to avoid myself getting off track and sabotaging my habits or my schedule, for a period of time, I forewent my sexual urges as a man by wanking one off every now and then. Now, notice I'm not saying wanking one off every night. Notice I'm not saying that, all right? Because that's a fucking vice. And that's not going to do anything good for you, right? But if you want to stay on track, and if you want to stop and avoid the distractions of going out and to the club and getting drunk and trying to chase ass, you know what I'm saying? Or trying to simp for women or invest fucking 5 hours a week trying to get some pussy. Dude, what I would do is forego my sexual urges by wanking one off every once in a while and then getting right back on track the next day, right? Because, guys, a lot of guys, their biggest downfall in life is fucking women. I guarantee probably 90% of you guys watching, the reason you're not where you want to be is because you distract yourself with pussy. If you have not cemented your new identity, your new habits, and if you haven't completed the chapter of solitude, introducing the wrong women in your life will fucking destroy your goddamn life. It's happened to me a lot of times, dude. You know what I'm saying? And it's probably happened to you if you're being real with yourself. The reason for this is because you haven't cultivated self-sufficiency, self-dependency, self-identity, and self-discipline. You will be unable to lead, maintain frame, build respect, and set boundaries. And your life will be fucked, because that woman is going to wreak havoc in your life 100% of the time. So that's why I told you guys I would wank one off every once in a while and get right back on track the next day. You know what I'm saying? So here's the end task for chapter 7. Cut off the friendships and relationships which are no longer serving you. Pack your schedule with more work and self-improvement habits. You know what I'm saying? Because most people complaining about loneliness they're just simply fucking lost. They're not doing enough whatsoever, right? And then lastly, invest in mentorships and communities, and only invest time into people who are on your same trajectory. Stop investing time into chasing fucking ass, bro. You've been doing that for 10 years, and how's that working out for you? You fucking hate yourself, and you hate your life like I did. You know what I'm saying? So, guys, I hope this course was of value. You know what I'm saying? Because I guarantee you what, bro? If you take this course seriously, you're going to change your goddamn life. Because this is exactly the steps I followed last year to change my life entirely. You know what I'm saying? To the point where I have people right now, I'm working with 70 clients, guys. You know what I'm saying? 70 clients, right? I'm helping other people change their lives. And you're going to see a lot of testimonials coming through from my program. Stay tuned for that because I have a lot of cool stuff in the works. So, guys, look, Southpaw Huncho, that's been a story of my life the last year. Hope you guys took notes. I hope you guys took this shit seriously. You know what I'm saying? Because, guys, this course, I know will change your life if you actually implement it. All right. So, guys, that was the video, man. I don't got nothing else to add. My throat is dry as fuck because I've been talking probably for like 2 hours. But, guys, that is a self mastery blueprint, man. Southpaw Huncho. Check it out. Peace.